Hello, welcome to another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight. So, boys, let's get it started. We start with the New England Patriots, 2-2. We didn't think there was going to be a bye week last week, but there was a bye week in this bizarro season, 4-game season for the Patriots. But good news out of the Grandstand Live breaking news desk. Cam Newton will practice and will play on Sunday. That's a game changer, boys.
Sure is. I think we never appreciated high quality quarterbacking for the Patriots like we did after that last game, because that was tough to watch. Just the inaccuracy alone was tough to watch.
Yeah, we've taken a lot of things for granted in this town for a while now. Goaltending, we got a taste of Halak instead of Rask in the playoffs.
It's a great point.
We got a taste of Hoyer last week instead of.
Yeah, we're not ready for it, Timmy. We're not ready for crappy players. Right?
We're not ready for what the rest of the world, what the rest of the country's been dealing with. We've had the luxury of great teams. Joe, I'm hoping you can hear. We can hear you.
Kind of hear you.
You just need to increase your volume there, Joe, if you can.
Joe. Look. The fact is that when we were growing up and in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, we wouldn't mind a rebuild for our teams. That's no longer. We're not interested in any rebuilds by any of our 4 teams. Not for 1 second.
We are spoiled. I don't think any of us see a reason for a rebuild. And if you can, if you can retool on the fly, as close to a rebuild as I'll get. Like, I think the Patriots are retooling on the fly, but I just don't see them going into tank mode. I just don't.
Yeah, the Celtics are the perfect. Joe, we can't hear you. I can hear you a little, but Timmy, while Joe gets that straight, look, we can handle a Celtics go to the Eastern Conference Finals Game 6 rebuild.
Yeah, that's our low bar, okay? We can take the Bruins losing in the Stanley Cup Finals, I mean, this year it was hard to even lose to the eventual Stanley Cup winner. We were still mad at them for losing to a super powerful team, but it wasn't real. It was kind of like a quasi season this year, I mean, if you're ever going to have an off year like the Red Sox, this was the year to have it. The Red Sox, actually, I got to give them credit. They picked the perfect year to absolutely suck. You know what I mean?
They sure did. But, when we picture rebuilds, we picture a lot of young prospects playing, and the Red Sox weren't like that. I mean, they did have the guys in Verdugo and a few in Tanner Houck later in the season. But when I picture rebuilds, I picture all young guys. When Andrew and Bogarts first came up, things like that.
What was the last? I mean, it's a great question, Scott. Like, what was the last? I guess the Celtics were the last rebuild, the full-blown tear it down, rebuild it from the bottom up. I think it was probably the Celtics, like just about, between Doc and Brad. I mean, that was pretty close to a rebuild at that
Brad's
time.
First 2 years, they didn't win anything.
Yeah, they got Isaiah, but like Isaiah wasn't brought in to be a superstar. Isaiah Thomas was brought in to be a nice player, and it just happened to catch fire.
I actually gave up my season tickets for a couple of years there. They were so bad. They got really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but moving forward, the consumer dollars in Boston are going to, they're not going to be throwing them out like they used to. If you're a bad team in Boston, you immediately go down to the 4th level, stage 4 of the top 4 teams, and you have problems selling tickets and having anybody watch the games. That's just the way this town is right now.
Well, one thing though is, we have cold, miserable, long winters here, and it's a great distraction to be able to go into a Bruins or a Celtics game. That's one thing that Boston pro winter teams have in their favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the expectations are very high now. I mean, you don't want to be in the basement in Boston. You don't want to be the 4th team, right? And because everyone's expectations have gone up, and I mean, it's the Red Sox are the 4th team in Boston right now. Can we all agree on that?
after Joe having their best season in maybe in the history of the franchise just 2 years ago.
Yeah, crazy.
Joe,
Yeah,
can I
Lewis-
hear you? Joe, can we hear you talk, Joe? Oh, can't
Nope.
hear Joe again. All right, I was going to bring it up.
Joe, you're on mute. I can see your mute
It
button, by
took
the
me
way.
5 minutes and 15 seconds to do it, but it's the elephant in the room. I'm going to mention it. Jimmy G got benched on Sunday. When will we see him in a Patriots uniform?
I was just texting back and forth with some old high school friends who, like you, have an unnatural fascination with Jimmy G. Like there's no explaining it. Like they're like,
He's really handsome. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that that's wrong.
right, whether it's natural or unnatural, but they have Scott's fascination with him. And
yeah, that's it.
my point to them was really, now that Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels have seen him play for a couple of years, are we really sure that they think Jimmy G's the solution to their quarterbacking problem?
The Patriots?
Yeah, I mean,
no, obviously Cam Newton. Look, we would be screaming right now, including the three of you guys, if Cam Newton had not come onto the scene.
Right.
Like, of course you got to go. Jimmy G.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, here's another way of talking about it. Would Jimmy G be in your top 10 NFL QB list? No. Right?
No.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Scotty, you're the only one who's in the top 10 list. You're the
Would
only
you take
one on the
Ryan
planet.
Tannehill? Would you take Ryan Tannehill over Jimmy G?
Absolutely.
Oh,
based on what I've seen.
If Jimmy G looked like Terry Bradshaw, you wouldn't even be talking about it.
You've got to be kidding. Ryan Tannehill. You're over Jimmy G.
No, but I mean, look, Jimmy G has played like a mid-tier NFL quarterback.
Absolutely. Scotty can't get that through his head, Russ.
I mean, that's just who he is. It's who he is. And, could he play better here? Maybe. But I don't know, like, if you're Bill Belichick, is that the first, if you have the choice between Cam Newton and Jimmy G going into next year based on what you've seen so far, who are you choosing?
Why was Jimmy G successful? He had Bill Belichick as his coach. That's the magic equation Jimmy G doesn't have right now. He doesn't have Bill Parcells as his coach. I mean, how much of those Jimmy G wins were Bill Parcells and how much of it was Jimmy G?
Look, bottom line is, if the Jimmy G makes one throw to Sanders in the Super Bowl, they win that game. He's an MVP. He's going into the season, and you guys are changing your tune.
Sure.
I haven't seen
once. Well, I'm sorry, Timmy, you go first.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen.
But would you agree he was one throw away from this narrative being changed?
Sure, but we could say that about a lot of guys, Scott. Like, first off, he's been injured. Once again, he's been injured. Injured again.
Yep.
So now we're sitting here. He's like by the way, you know who Jimmy G is? He's the Gordon Hayward of the NFL.
Russell, who does a certain person, not me, not you, the other person here, who complains most about if you can't stay on the field? It doesn't matter.
I think that
Joe's not here.
Jimmy G's nickname is Grandpa Jimmy G. How is he any different? How is he any different?
We'll call him Nana.
Nana.
Yeah, Jimmy G is Nana, and Gordon Hayward is Grandpa.
But now to be referred as Nana.
Yeah.
All right. I agree with you. He has to prove that he can stay in the field. There's absolutely. But would you give me this? Compared to the Stidhams and the Hoyers of the world.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We've seen that Jimmy G can make the throws.
That's a low bar, Scotty. That's a low bar.
No, right. Yeah. But Jimmy, look, I don't think Jimmy G's worth his salary. But if you were we were all dreaming of transitioning, and you agree, from Brady to Jimmy G.
All right. If there's a draft today, and you can, pick any quarterback in the league, and there's a draft today, where does Jimmy G go in that draft?
I think he probably goes
top 15. Top 15. His youth. Potential. Yeah, he's in the top 15, maybe 12, because he's got potential. But you have to see it on the field, and he's got to stay on the field. And he can't, he looks like he's a little fragile.
Absolutely. Speaking of fragile, and he's not fragile, he's had a remarkable career. But now that they've had their bye week, I have to see on Sunday if Julian Edelman is done or not. I really think if he's had a 2-week break and he still looks like his brains are scrambled and he doesn't want to play anymore, really. What's the point?
He's certainly given up on giving yards after catch.
Yeah.
Russ,
Yeah.
he's definitely given up on that. He's catching that ball, securing it, and heading for the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if, because Tim, I noticed the same thing. We talked about it last week. Was that a 1-game blip? Was he just feeling bad that day, or is this the rest of his year and the rest of his career? Because we're just not used to seeing him do that.
Right. And don't you think this Sunday is an important indication of where his career goes? I mean, because the guy looked like he was torn up in that.
Well, like I mentioned last night, he did unnatural things. He did things that most human beings would not do in the sacrificing of his body through the years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he had going for him, and he doesn't have that going for him anymore.
All right, so guys, we need to acquire at the very least a linebacker and a wide receiver. I mean, we could talk about defensive line and other positions, but we need those two. I ask you, we have obviously great depth in the running back position. Does Sonia Michelle, and I wish Joe was back on, does he have any trade value? Could we get the Sonia Michelle of the wide receiver in some other team? Do you know what I mean? And kind of trade on those.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. I think he's a replacement level running back. I think he's an average running back in the NFL. So could you get an average receiver?
However, what? But let's look at this. What's Burkhead's over under for when he gets injured and he's out for the season? I mean, we talk about depth at positions. You cannot have too much depth anywhere in the NFL, especially at running. Burkhead, what do we give him? 3 or 4 more games till he's hurt again, right?
Yeah.
And then Michelle's going to look really important.
And the fact is, the vast majority of these trades at the deadline are for draft picks, Scott. You very rarely see a player-for-player trade in the NFL.
I'm just trying to hope that they don't give up another second-round pick for a freaking Green of the Bengals. I mean, I just don't need those deals. All right, we have a phenomenon happening from a 6th-round pick from Michigan. He's 375 pounds. His name is Michael Owen. He is grading out as the best offensive player in the NFL rookie-wise this year.
That's crazy.
The 6th best player in the NFL since 2006.
That's crazy.
How can other 31 other teams miss this badly?
I don't know. It's funny. I remember reading some of the post-draft analysis of him by some guys like Joe who study linemen, and they said that he's just one of those guys who has a ton of potential athletically. He didn't get a lot of play. He wasn't like an on-field performer. And maybe teams just thought he was one of those guys who was like a physical marvel, but couldn't play,
375
pounds. Brady, when he was, Brady's draft year, the big knock on him was, why was there a quarterback competition at Michigan? That was the big argument. Why wasn't he good enough to have the job outright? And that maybe they were looking at this guy the same way. Like, why wasn't he starting every game since sophomore year?
Well, look, we're talking about salary caps and offensive linemen and how much they get paid these days. To have a guy who's controlled for 4 years at 6th-round money is going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
We're talking about the acquisition of other players.
Totally right. And even to take that a step further, Greg Bedard, who does a lot of good work on Boston Sports Journal for the Patriots. He's even suggested Onwenu he might even be like, would Belichick even consider trading Tooney at the deadline because this guy's playing so well?
Yeah, well,
Tooney's playing unbelievable too, though.
Yeah,
that's a good point. But obviously Andrews would have to come back and
right.
And the only way we're going to make it anywhere this year is running the ball. So we need every offensive lineman we can get right now.
But also,
unless you're willing to throw this year away,
Yeah,
I don't think you do throw it away. Look, the Chiefs, that's our next great segue to me into our next subject. Chiefs should have lost to the Patriots. Now I'm even more convinced if Cam Newton plays in that game, Patriots win. And Chiefs lose to the Raiders this week. Boys, this field is open for the AFC.
I totally agree. I don't think Baltimore looks unbeatable. Lamar Jackson doesn't look like the player he was last year. We watched Buffalo lose last night to a good Tennessee team, but Tennessee's not a. I mean, by the way, Tennessee beat us in the playoffs last year, but they're a good team and don't look like an unbeatable team. So it looks like it's wide open.
Yeah. Absolutely, and this plays the role what Belichick's thinking, Timmy, as far as the trade deadline. And he's probably wishing he hadn't made those phone calls to some guys about opting out.
Well, now you can see what he was looking at and why he was pausing it. The Cam Newton thing, I mean, that just throws a wrench in what we thought there was a tank year, and Cam Newton just blows that whole theory right to pieces.
Look, the Patriots and other teams, but especially the Patriots, they have, now that COVID has become a problem in the NFL, they even have a greater position to say guys like Hightower and Chung should be allowed to come back during the season. You shouldn't. It's a right to work situation, and they need to be flexible in the rules. And NFL is wanting to change the rules during the season.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's a great point. I never thought of it. I just assumed that they were out. I wonder if they would come back. I wonder if you went to Dante and said, can you come back for the last 5 games? Although if he opted out because of being worried about the virus, nothing that we've seen should make him any less worried. It's not good right now.
But Russ, those old
it's not like it's been a clean season. You know what I mean? COVID wise.
No, but
these guys, they're out for 7 or 10 days, and then they're right back on the field. It appears. I mean. But
the old veteran guys, boys, they like it. At the end of their careers, to play 6-7 games and get to the playoffs, get a share of their money, and then go home. So that might be appealing to them.
Now, what share of their money are they getting this year? How much are they getting paid?
I think like $350,000.
Yeah, it's a flat rate, I think.
If you have a doctor's note, you get $350. If you don't, I think you get $150.
I think that's right.
These guys aren't getting any younger though either.
Yeah, it's not big money. All right, boys, we got to go. We got to go to other sports, but let's get the predictions on the Denver game. Russ,
Russ, go ahead.
Tim, go ahead, Tim.
I'll go just like I did last night, 28-14. I think the Patriots do pretty well.
Yeah, me too. 31-17.
Yeah, I got 38. Now that Cam's back, I think they're going to open up the offense a little bit more. No reason to play ball control against the Broncos. They're going to see what they have. 38-14. All right, go to the Celtics. Lakers win the title. You kind of knew that was going to happen. I told you before the bubble started that they were going back in the bubble so LeBron could win, and it's exactly what happened. Yeah, but it was quite entertaining along the way.
They did such a good job. You've got to tip your hat to the NBA and all the players, all the coaches, the management, the owners, the league. They didn't have one positive test from players the entire time. And that meant that they prioritized their health and the safety of everybody. Good for them. I mean, good for them.
Yeah.
Trying to keep a bunch of young guys corralled like that's not an easy thing.
No.
Absolutely.
Guys are in the prime of their life, so to speak, and you're asking them to just, stay in a corral for
$5 million
that amount of time. That's not an easy thing at that age to do.
Yeah, making $5 million a year average. Yeah, they want to.
Yeah, they can have a lot of fun with that, though.
Yeah, that's what I heard. All right, I'm glad Rajon Rondo won another title. He's been a good player, very good player, and I wish he had been on the Celtics this year.
Yeah, I mean, ironically,
an underrated guy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, smart player. And would have been exactly what the Celtics needed, he's certainly an upgrade on Brad Wanamaker.
That's for sure. Dwight Howard winning a title seems so wrong.
Painful. I don't like that guy.
It does.
Yeah,
Back to Rondo, though. Rondo was a magician when he was with the Celtics. I mean, as long as he has really good players to feed, I mean, it's a waste for him not to have superstars to work with. You put him with some superstars, boy. Is there anyone facilitating the ball than John Rondo? He's a magician out there. He sees things that nobody else sees.
Yeah, we thought Rondo screwed up by not signing a big deal with the Celtics. I guess he's recouping some of that money, which we thought he was never going to get.
Yeah, it's second team, second championship. That's a big deal.
All right, I got some rumors for you, some juicy ones. Buddy Hield for Grandpa.
Yeah, I saw that rumor the other day.
Kerman rumor.
No, I actually saw that rumor. That was
You know I love
B-Rob.
Buddy Hield. You know I love
Yeah,
him.
no, B-Rob did it. You know, the thing that you'd be gaining is obviously shooting. He is an atrocious defensive player. I mean, atrocious to the point where you may not be able to play him on the same court with Kemba for very often. So you'd gain shooting. I wouldn't be against it. I'm just saying, guy can't play defense. He has no interest in playing defense.
Yeah, well, hopefully that it's changed a little bit on the Stevens system. But God, we have Buddy Hield to me to come off the bench, shooting, filling up the 15 points in a quarter would make all the difference in the world.
True. We need a pure shooter. We need a guy that can just come out and light up 4 threes, when you need it. And
Buddy Hield's
we don't have that. We don't have him right now. A big man and a pure shooter.
All right, this is a Russ Stevens special. Larry Nance Jr. for, I don't know, Cantor.
Spare parts. Yeah, no, you could get him. He's got a decent contract, but you could get to him without giving up one of your key guys. I've actually seen that. That makes a lot of sense, Larry Nance Jr. as a athlete. If you're you basically move Cantor and replace Cantor with him, and he's just a much more athletic big who might be able to play against some of these guys that Cantor can't play. Cantor can't play in the playoffs, basically.
And then would give up having to take those 3 shitty draft picks that we'd be picking.
Yeah, except, shitty in one sense, but, last year's shitty pick would have gotten us Tyler Harrell. So you can't,
I know, but Danny doesn't seem to make those picks.
We're finding out there are some gems, at the bottom of that first round.
There are.
If you pick the right guy, where was Giannis picked? I mean, he was what?
He was late. Yep.
The problem is, boys, Jared Sullinger, Fab Mello, Russ's buddy, James Young, the crap of the world. That's what he always drafts. And we know what he does. If you can have a proven guy coming off the bench and you get rid of those 3 picks, I'm all for it.
Uncle Joe, you back?
I don't know, am I?
Yeah,
you are.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I had to reboot and everything.
All right, we go to the Red Sox, and of course I have to mention because we are called the Grandstanders. 7 years ago and 2 days was the most exciting moment that I've ever had in sports when Big Papi hit the Grand Slam to tie the game in Game 2 of the ALCS against Detroit. And the Stevens family, the Hoey family, we wish Joe had been there. Yeah. I've never gone crazier, nor have you guys, in a moment in sports. Just kind of relive that.
Johnny, I think you turned to me and you said, Tim, this is what it's like to be with like 40,000 people that just won the lottery.
Yeah. If you looked around, all you saw was people bouncing up and down in their seats. If you looked around and looked a bunch of, it was so exciting because it was so bleak. Had they lost that game, that series was probably unwinnable. They're 4 runs down. Nothing had happened in that game. It was just a jolt of electricity.
Yeah, nothing had happened that whole game. We could not get the bat on the ball the whole game. Detroit pitching was mowing us down one after another. We couldn't do anything, and bang! And
all turned around.
The 2 legs up in the air like this, and then the policeman with the 2 arms up. I mean,
iconic photo.
And that was right in front of our section too. That was the best part.
Oh, Joseph, the Yankees.
I was at Gillette Stadium that night, and I just came home. I just walked through, and Tom Brady had a fabulous comeback that night, and everyone left Gillette. We were the only
was that against the New Orleans Saints when he threw that pass to Tompkins? Was the kid's name?
Yeah. But I walked in the door to my house, and the game was on TV. Just seconds before it happened.
Oh my God.
And I was there, and I saw it on TV.
Joe, you didn't miss a thing before that because the whole game was a massive frustration level all before that.
Yeah. So I came from one huge comeback to another huge comeback.
That was just a wonderful moment. All right, Joe, nice to see the Yankees lose. We can sleep well for the
Oh yeah, it's still a good season if the Yankees didn't get any satisfaction.
And raise your hand if you've been surprised at how much you've enjoyed watching the Dodgers lose, because I'm just like, I had no idea that I would enjoy watching them lose so much.
I wanted the Padres to win.
Yeah,
That
that's
would
a good team.
us.
Yeah, they have nice personality, that the Padres.
There is one fear there, though.
Happy.
There's one fear here, though. The Tampa Bay. My fear is the Tampa Bay wins the World Series, and then we'll have to realize that Tampa Bay is the sports capital
Oh,
of America. And that's not a good thing.
all
I
right,
don't
boys.
see the football team going anywhere. They don't look good at all.
Me neither.
Okay, boys, this is so typical baseball right now. Baseball does everything wrong. So Alex Cora and AJ Hinch are the leading candidates to take over a really good Chicago White Sox team. It's unbelievable. These two should be in baseball prison. Seriously, they should be behind bars in baseball prison. And somehow they're going to end up getting a cushy job with a great young team. That's just so typical Major League Baseball.
How come Renteria, every time he's got a good team going, they fire him? He takes teams from nothing to something, and then it looks like they got something going, and they fire him.
Yeah, Scott, this Cora thing has bothered you from day one, and it more than it's bothered me. Not to say I'm not bothered by it, but I'm also looking at it like, all right, the guy got suspended for a year. He served his time. I think he's just as likely to come back to the Sox. They kept their entire coaching staff other than two guys.
Yeah.
Like, other than the integrity of the sport, I mean, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Hey, the era that we're living in, it pales in comparison.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
This really does. That's right. Yeah, it really does permeate through all of society. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because look, Pete Rose got a lifetime ban by Bartlett Giamatti, right? And I would argue that these two should get 5 lifetime bans if that's how we're playing.
Scotty, when you think about it, what Rose did pales in comparison to what Cora did.
Oh, betting against your team? You can't bet against your team.
Was it proven that Rose bet against his own team?
Well, what they proved is
clear.
he didn't bet on his team
When he
thought
did
they were
bet on
going to
his
lose.
team, he was betting against them. I understand that, but this is much more different, Joe. This is the integrity of the whole league and how they play.
So
the
Scott,
game.
but let me give you a
Every
hypothetical.
team in
So
every league is trying to steal the signals
No,
of the other.
come on. This is completely different. You come on,
let
Joe.
me give you a hypothetical, Scotty. So Cora comes back. The Red Sox win 96 games and make it until at least the ALCS next year. How are you going to feel?
He's still a piece of shit. He will always be a piece of shit to me. No, really. You know how much I love baseball. And to do that, what they did, and have the guys, the Altuves of the world, and the Correas, reap great financial rewards because of this bullshit. The Bregmans. Fuck them all. Alex Cora should never be allowed in a baseball stadium again. Seriously, Pete Rose did a hell of a lot more for the game than Alex Cora, and he's been sitting there in Florida having to sign. I cheated on baseball for the last 30 years to make money. Tell me,
and not only the players that benefited from it, the pitchers that were degraded because of it, because they got hit. You know,
it's the worst. It's the worst. It's far worse than the Donahue's of the world fixing games in the NBA. It's far worse than any scandal that we've had in our lifetime.
I don't see that at all.
Oh,
so I guess the equivalent would be in football if you knew if it was going to be a pass or a run every play.
Every time. Every time. Joe.
Well, that's the goal of every defensive coordinator.
For God's sake. I told you I would have a Reed Nichols career. I'd have a 10-year. I was a 4th outfielder for the Red Sox for 10 years, and I'd have a pension if
it came to light that the Patriots were stealing signals from the other sideline during 4 of the 6 Super Bowls, would you feel the same way?
No, stealing signals. How? I'd have to know more.
They had high definition cameras, and they were radioing in to Josh McDaniels and the defensive coordinator what the next plays are going to be.
That would right. Absolutely. I have to be consistent.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
You can't play those. You can't play games like that.
I respect your opinion. I'm not saying it wasn't really bad. What I am saying is he got punished for a year, he got suspended for a year. He did his year. He served the time that was assigned to him. I just think he should be eligible to come back.
Ross, what Scotty's saying though is like the punishment that Major League has doled out to the Pete Roses of the world. It is not equivalent. I mean, this.
Yeah, I agree
some
with that.
people have been treated unfairly, and what Cora did rates right up there with the most egregious things that have ever been done.
Absolutely. Right. And the fact is that the Astros, they're still World Series champions.
And those pitchers that got knocked around in the playoffs,
they didn't take the title away. They didn't take the title away. They did nothing. In college, they would have taken the title away for sure. They didn't do anything. And you guys want Alex Cora back with the Red Sox?
I didn't say I want him back. I was just posing some hypothetical questions. There are plenty of other managers that could be good for the Red Sox.
I mean, is the stink not so great on the Red Sox this year? We got rid of our season tickets because
I thought Alex Cora was going to go to the White Sox now.
Fucking let him go there for sure. He can go there. Oh yeah, right. Good.
The first times I've ever heard Scotty drop the F-bombs.
No, absolutely. No. Look, if I saw Alex Cora and I would tell him he's a piece of shit, I would absolutely. And this is not going to be a Chris Collingsworth thing where I choke and I say hello to him instead of calling him that. All right, I gotta go. I'm all riled up.
You're all worked up. Look at
I never seen him so worked up about what I kind of think is a minor issue.
I don't know if it's minor, Joe. I don't know if it's minor, Joe.
Minor issue? Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Right, I gotta go.
Every team in every sport is trying to steal the other. There's nothing illegal about stealing the other team's signs. It's the way they went about it with the cameras that may
All right,
cross
Joe,
the
we're gonna
line.
talk about this tomorrow.
They
Right,
just
boys.
crossed the line. That's all.
Oh, for God's sake. I can't even get. I have to calm down. I got to spend the rest of the evening. All right, boys. That's our show for tonight. Want to thank everyone behind the scenes, of course, Corbin. Want to thank, of course, the boys, despite their opinions. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.